Good afternoon again. Namaskar and happy Maghe Sakranti. Uh, Welcome to the third talk of today's session. Unfortunately, we ended earlier today with a bad news, but I have a good news for you that our second speaker today is going to deliver his talk, his first talk tomorrow, not on the last day. So that's a good news for us, and it would be more contextual to learn the calcium and phosphorus sources a little earlier that are at the last day. And we are again very extremely thankful for your overwhelming participation. We are thankful to the insightful presentation of our keynote speakers. Above all, we are blessed to enjoy the interactive question and answer session after each talk, which has put much light on the different practical aspects of poultry nutrition that were beyond our expectation. It is a matter of immense delight for us to witness participants from Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Egypt, and expert speaker from Nepal, India, and the United States of America. Uh, Again, we request our participant to mute their microphone during the talk session. They can put their queries in chat box, and we humbly request you to appear in this Zoom platform with the name with which you have registered. Um, Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our third speaker today. He is going to deliver his talk on the use of minerals, vitamins, and toxin binder in poultry feed. Dr. Dinesh Gautam. I personally consider him as a legendary poultry nutritionist in Nepal. Dr. Dinesh Gautam is currently working as a capacity of CEO of Himalayan Solvents Private Limited and MD at Kanchanjunga Trading and New Vet Consulting. He holds 22 years of experience in animal feed sector. He holds a Bachelor's of Veterinary Science and Animal Husbandry and an executive MBA degree. He has vast areas of expertise in animal nutrition and feed milling and has brought numerous brands to his success. He has attended more than 100 technical programs in the field of animal nutrition, health, business, and leadership, and has been speaker in the International Forum in Poultry Nutrition and published articles on international magazines. He is actively involved in technical consulting in the areas of feed milling and nutrition for the feed mills in Nepal. Dr. Gautam, now the floor is yours. Please proceed ahead with your presentation on the use of minerals, vitamins, and toxin binders in poultry feed.
So how do I share my screen here? Not seeing my oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to do this. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Sorry. Is my slide visible?
Yes.
Okay. One second. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope I'm audible, yeah?
Yes, Raksab, you are
Okay.
audible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on this poultry nutrition forum. I saw the content and the speaker lineup, very interesting, and I think it will be helpful in for the beginners, learners, and advanced courses also. So I'll be delivering today the talk on vitamin, mineral, and toxin binder in poultry feed. Uh, most of these topics are theoretical, but I'll try to be more practical on the choice, uses, and the application in poultry feed, in commercial poultry feed as such. So, uh, yeah, so the outline should be the vitamins, roles and uses. Uses of vitamin in extreme climates and metabolic diseases because we use vitamins in treating certain metabolic diseases and elevating the extremes of climates. mineral forms and their uses, and toxin minerals, types and uses in animal feed. So this will be the outline today. So uh, because vitamin and minerals, we treat them as nutrients, and toxin minerals as a additive, because my topics today are on vitamin, minerals, and toxin minerals. So we'll be talking few of the nutrients and some additives, and one additives today. On vitamins, conventionally is classified as fat soluble and water soluble. So we all know that fat soluble vitamins are A, D3, and K. Water solubles are B complex, choline, and vitamin C. These are the vitamins that we use in animal feed, all kinds of animal feed, in poultry, mostly poultry. My topic today would be more towards poultry, almost entirely on poultry. So on fat soluble vitamins, the major distinguishing features is they are digested and absorbed as lipid, because they need lipid to have the transport mechanism. It's a transport mechanism, and also they are excreted in feces. Unlike water soluble vitamins, they're excreted in urine. So also we all know that water soluble vitamins, they are not stored in the body; they are needed as and when necessary. But fat soluble vitamins, they are stored in adipose tissues, and we they are generally stored, and we can store in poultry also. They are they come into picture, or their role is more defined in extremes of climate and other issues. So vitamin fat soluble vitamins, vitamin K, C, and B1 are mostly heat labile, because we all know vitamins are previously were all the vitamins were heat labile, but mostly the heat labile vitamins are fat soluble vitamins K, C, and B1. Now, with the use of pellet feed and the temperature in the pellet feed being around up to 90 degrees centigrade, most, and also the extruded feed, they contain also vitamins. Most of the vitamins are now protected for heat, so don't have to worry much about the heat levelity as of now, because most of these suppliers, they use the protection for vitamins. So conventionally, when we see the key functions of vitamins, we all know vitamin A. I'll just briefly go through the major functions only. Vitamin A on the eyesight and visibility, and also immunity, because they are actively involved in protein metabolism of epithelial tissues. Vitamin D3 helps in metabolism of calcium and phosphorus. Vitamin E is a natural antioxidant and prevents peroxide formation. Vitamin K is, we know, is necessary for prothrombin formation and preventing blood clots. And thiamine is most of the vitamin B complexes are they are actively involved in metabolism of carbohydrate, fat, and protein, and they are precursors or coenzymes of various enzyme systems inside the body. So when you see the role of vitamin B complex, we see more their role more into the as a coenzyme systems in the various body pathway metabolism pathways. So, and vitamin H is involved in amino acid catabolism, fatty acid synthesis, and gluconeogenesis. Choline is on transmethylation as a methyl donor. And vitamin C is for transfer of hydrogen ions and electrons in hydroxylation processes. So these are the key functions of vitamins, and we tend to apply these features into the practical feed formulation when it comes to the practical uses. So I already told you that vitamins have multiple roles, especially B vitamins. You see the roles in metabolism of protein, fat, carbohydrate, energy, and nervous systems. So we see that and synthesis of nucleotides. So we see that vitamins B1 is more actively involved in carbohydrate, energy, and nervous system, carbohydrate energy metabolism, and also the constituent of nervous system. So when you see in fields of any birds having symptoms of neurotic degeneration or new nervous systems, we tend to apply vitamin B1 in water. Yeah, B1, B6, B12, niacin, and pantothenic acid. So from this chart, it is very obvious that the role of the vitamins on different metabolic systems and metabolism and the nervous system. So we tend to apply these learnings into practice. So there are, when you talk about forms, vitamin A comes in retinal acetate forms, and the units is international unit. We don't generally measure vitamin E in mg or gram. So the commercial vitamin A is of 10 million units, international units per gram. So generally is 10 million units. Sometimes the vitamin AD3 is also available. In that AD3, 10 million units of sorry, 10 is to 2, 1 million and 200,000 units. Sorry, vitamin A is 1 million units per gram. Vitamin AD3 contains 1 million units of vitamin A and 200,000 international units of vitamin D3. So D3 is on, also we measure that into IU, and it's around 500,000 international units per gram. The mostly available commercial forms have 500,000 units of vitamin D3 per gram. So though diluted forms are also available, but pure forms are generally on this concentration only. And vitamin E is mostly in 50% form, powder, or also liquid. After beyond 50%, it's all liquid. We need to convert that liquid into the powder form. Vitamin K, there are two forms actively available in the market. One is vitamin K3, is menarion, 50%. We call it also menarion bisulfite. And second form is MNB, menarion nicotinamide bisulfite. So it contains 43.7% of vitamin K3 and 31% of niacin. It is a mix of vitamin B3 niacin and K3 menarion. So two forms are actively available. So whichever forms we can use whichever of the forms available. No, generally there is no difference in the bioavailability of vitamin K3 in both of the forms. So similar. Vitamin B1 is available in HCl form, hydrochloride form, and is available in the purity of 98%. B2 riboflavin is also hydrochloride, riboflavin hydrochloride. It is available in 80% forms most of the times, almost in pure form. Vitamin B3 is also niacin hydrochloride. We also find nicotinamide or niacinamide in B3. There is another form. Almost 99% purity we can get from vitamin B3. Its commercial form, on its commercial form. Vitamin B5 is pantothenic acid, and the commercial form is calcium D pantothenate. It's 90% pure. B6 is pyridoxine hydrochloride, is 98% pure again. B9 is folic acid, so it's about 95 to 99% of pure form of the concentration. Vitamin B12 is mostly 1% because it's required in very small doses in mg forms, in concentration of mg. So the pure forms is very difficult to mix into the feed, so or even the premix. So we get a 1% premix of vitamin B12. Also similar in biotin, we call it also by vitamin H, and is the pure form is available in 98%, but most of the commercial forms is available in 2%. Choline has a different forms. It's available in chloride. Concentration is 60%. We got a carrier is concave and 50% in silica. Also, we get higher concentration of liquid choline. So the most of the commercial forms are either 60% or 50% silica based, but the pure forms is always on liquid form. So vitamin C, ascorbic acid, uh, is available in the purity of 90 to 100%, mostly above 95%. It's almost pure. But we have a new form, is phosphate form, so it is heat stable. In case we use vitamin C in poultry feed, because vitamin C is in its pure form is not heat stable. It's labile, and at pelleting temperature it degrades greatly. So we don't use pure vitamin C in pellet feed, but in mass feed you can use vitamin C also is in the pure form. So the phosphate form is relatively heat stable, and it also withstands the extrusion. So mostly in pellet and extruded feed would use vitamin C as a ascorbic acid phosphate. So it's also available in the market, but not I've not seen it here in the Nepalese market yet. So a lot of the most of the multinational companies like TSM and others, they produce that phosphate forms. So when you talk about the requirements of vitamins uh, in poultry, we talk on commercial broiler, commercial layers, and breeders. Uh, Mostly the vitamins requirements are determined by the age group. Different age groups have different requirements, and the production cycle also. The starter grower or the laying cycles might have a different requirements of vitamins. And as you know, that the genetics of the today's bird has changed a lot, and the genetics is progressing a lot every year. Every year we see a tremendous improvement of genetic potential by the breeding companies. And when you compare uh, 5 years before COV 500, I'm taking COV 500 as example because in Nepal, mostly this is the predominant breed here in Nepal. So when you see the nutrient and the vitamins requirements of COV 500 5 years back and today, there is a tremendous difference in performance of the bird. They attain 2 kilos approximately in about 31 to 32 days now. The requirements also have changed. So we must take into the consideration of the latest of the published manuals or articles in terms of determining the the vitamins requirements of poultry. Kindly note that this is the general requirement. The it's not the requirement for the adverse of climates or the um, or specific uses. So this is generally assumed that the ingredients doesn't have any vitamins requirements. It is supplemental. So when you see the headings or the on the upper part is supplementary vitamins requirements. Okay, so that is to be supplemented. This vitamins has to be supplemented irrespective of what it contains, what the ingredient contains. So, but there are differences in terms of maize and wheat diets because on vitamin A and biotin requirements. So you have to be very careful on designing or allocating the vitamin requirements, especially on if you use grains other than corn or maize. So the different stages of broilers, they require um, different vitamins, especially the younger birds tend to have the more requirements than the older birds because as we already told that vitamins are required for the metabolism and synthesis of different ingredients or nutrients, and especially vitamin E is required for immune functions and cell maintaining the cell permeability. So vitamin E, when you see vitamin E, the requirement is more on younger birds and also on most of the other vitamins. So this is one of the requirements for layers. Is I adopted this from highland commercial layers. So they have the rearing period requirement up to this laying stage is different from that of the laying period requirements. So generally in commercial layers, what you have seen is commercial the laying requirements are lower than the growing requirements. Is exactly opposite in case of the broiler breeders. So broiler breeders they require more of the vitamins in laying period than that of the growing period. Is partly because we restrict feed in breeders, and as we restrict feed, the concentration of vitamins in laying ration would be more, and this is particularly relevant because we restrict more feeding in laying period than in growing period. So when you compare the growing period requirements for commercial layers and breeders is almost mm, opposite for the requirements. So we need to meet those requirements on top uh, from a reliable supply. So when you talk about the practical uses of vitamins, we there are a lot of vitamins that we commercially use in field condition also, and on also on top and feed also when there is a problem. Okay, so choline chloride, as you know, we generally tend to use that vitamins. Choline chloride is also a vitamin, though it is added differently, not in a premix, but directly into the feed mixer. It helps in fat metabolism, and when you encounter a problem of fatty liver, we generally tend to uh, increase the dose or change the form or make more choline available in the feed. So we use vitamin C in case of stress and case they are fatigue, as you know, because a lot of most of the layers has layers and some breeders are in cages here in Nepal. We tend to use vitamin C because the uptake of vitamin D3 depends on the availability of vitamin C. Though the body can synthesize the vitamin C, but extra will help a lot in case of the caged birds. So vitamin K3 we use generally in the coccidiosis control along with the anticoccidials because it helps in blood clotting. So vitamin A also in stress management. Some if they have the birds have any problems with eyesight or blindness, and also in mycotoxins because vitamins A and E they are the mycotoxins they generally make these vitamins not available to the bird, or they interfere with the vitamin A and E metabolism. So with the birds with mycotoxins require more of vitamin A and E. So vitamin E with selenium is immunoboosting for most of the cases, and we generally use that in combination in feed or water. And also, as I already told, vitamin E is the requirement of vitamin E increases in mycotoxin contaminated feed or mycotoxicosis. So it helps in boosting immunity. So vitamin D3 or the bioactive forms of vitamin D3, we have some available forms of vitamin D3 like ID or alpha D3 or abitriol. These are the three bioavailable forms of vitamin D3. They are actively used or widely used in case of uh, any issues in bone health or cell strength. Vitamin B2 in cases of vitamin colto paralysis or paralysis, we tend to treat with vitamin B2, vitamin B1 for twisted neck, pantothenic acid for mouth regions. So generally, vitamin B complex we treat or use for overall health boosting and boosting metabolism and feather development, and also for dermatitis, any health related issues with skin, feather, and metabolism. We can generally use recommend vitamin B complex and biotin for food pathogens. So these are specific vitamins uses in poultry feed in field conditions. So we can either give them through water or feed, but the field conditions, when we diagnose, they must be treated with water soluble vitamins. So these are some of the practical uses of vitamins in field conditions. So key points, as I told you, vitamins are key ingredients in feed and must not be ignored at any cost. They must go into feed. It means that in poultry feed, it is a must ingredient, it's a must nutrient. So it must be added. No point, no compromise on it. And in commercial formulation, it is always supplemented, no matter what the raw material is, the source of raw material is always supplemented. And any metabolic disorder or digestive disturbances or stress demands extra requirements of vitamins and vitamins, so they should be considered. So the general requirement doesn't apply in these cases: metabolic disorders, digestive disturbances, and stress and immunocompromised birds. So we need to supply extra on those cases. So the vitamin requirements are changing as per the breed developments. When you see the requirements nowadays, they have changed a lot, and because of the growth in production numbers, and we need to update ourselves on the requirements and use the latest one for the feed formulation. So in general, the vitamins, we tend when you see a pack of vitamins that is designed or indicated for poultry feed, let's first see the total number of vitamins, how many vitamins it contains, and then go for a for its contents. So the doses and the requirements depends on the challenges or the conditions in the field. So need to use accordingly. One of the major issues with vitamins here in Nepal is almost though almost all the vitamins can be tested using SPLC, but not in feed because the concentration becomes very diluted, and most of the vitamins cannot be tested into vitamins. So the only way to test that is either in pure form as we get it, or in the premix. So we need a SPLC lab to detect or quantify the content of the vitamins. And most of the time we don't have it here. So the wise way or the best way is to use vitamins from trusted source that you know. And it is always agreed that the fresher is better. And when you talk about cattle, vitamin A, D3 are important. So generally what I recommend is you go with a trusted source in vitamins. The one you trust the most, you go with that. And because the vitamins, they generally degrade over time. So generally you use as fresh as possible. So coming back to microminerals. Microminerals of importance are cobalt, zinc, manganese, copper, iron, iodine, selenium, and chromium. So of the 8 minerals, cobalt is no longer recommended because of is available in plant sources in plenty. We generally use 6 minerals: zinc, manganese, copper, iron, iodine, and selenium. And the new one is chromium because of its importance in glucose metabolism. So most of these minerals have to be supplemented again in ration. So the microminerals, they are uh, sources needed for cell integrity, immune functions, enzymatic reactions, and metabolic functions. And the minerals are found in either in plants or the raw metals or in rocks, and local feedstuffs must be analyzed for mineral concentration or contents before additions are to be made. So unlike unlike vitamins, the mineral content in the soil determines the mineral content of the products or grains or legumes, and it's always wise to use the mineral content of the grains and legumes or the protein sources or the raw materials before additions can be made. Just to share an example, this especially in India and Nepal, the soil contains high iron. So it has been observed that the raw materials, especially soybeans or maize, sourced from India or Nepal, uh, they are already high, very high in iron. So we don't need any extra iron supplementation in those, especially for requirements, for lower requirements, like in commercial layers. Likewise, some soils in some part of the world are very high in selenium. So there, instead of supplying selenium, the raw materials already contains high amount of selenium, so that should not be supplied. So in, in, in minerals, is always better or wise to have the mineral concentration in plants, but it's almost difficult for us to find that data. That's why we generally supplement minerals also like vitamins. But it is wise to have the requirement database or the content database of the raw materials. So these are all theories. So the requirements and differentiation in terms of different minerals. Zinc is the component of enzyme systems, and the deficiency causes retardation of growth, semen quality, leg availability, and skeletal deformities and withering. So these are the major functions of zinc, like manganese. Uh, I think these slides will be available for all the participants later on. I'll be sharing that to the host and will be available. It's not take much time in theories. These are the functions of cobalt, manganese, copper, iron, selenium, iodine, and this is the chart that I took from Recline, the nutritionist. It describes the main role of minerals, their sources, and antagonism. Because when you use minerals, minerals have antagonism. One mineral has antagonism to most other minerals, like zinc has is antagonist with copper, ferrous, calcium, phosphorus, cadmium, and lead. A lot of other minerals. Yeah. So the complexity is yet to be further studied, but well documented in in papers that one minerals is antagonist to many other minerals. So uh, this is a good chart, and when you want to study minerals, the basics is this chart. So when you talk about sources, so I already told you that soils vary in their content of trace minerals and plant vary in the uptake of minerals. So plant vary in their uptake of minerals. That means that plant also contains a lot of trace minerals. And but I again repeating, though soil is an important consideration, the important consideration is the requirement of board also. So uh, if you can determine the content of the ingredients, then supplemental levels has to be considered. So When you talk about minerals, we talk about two forms of minerals nowadays. Though the manual recommendation or the commercial recommendation is well documented only for inorganic minerals, the organic minerals have also been come into the pictures lately. So the absorption of inorganic minerals, generally we tend to supplement minerals when you saw into the chart, either sulfate or organic oxide forms. Okay, but generally sulfates have better viability than oxides, and and they are generally used in inorganic salts like copper sulfate, iron sulfate, so ferrous sulfate. So when the salt gets into reaches into the digestive system, they get dissociated, and the free mineral then gets attached to the organic molecule, then is escorted to the bloodstream. So it doesn't go along; it goes along with the organic molecule. That's why the organic mineral manufacturers, they have their fundamentals there. So trace mineral will not be absorbed in cases of antagonistic reactions. We already established certain minerals have their antagonistic effect with other almost all the minerals have antagonistic effect with other minerals. So in the digestive systems, if the concentration of zinc is very high, copper availability will be low, like that. So if the minerals are not available, not able to find an escort or the organic molecule, their association, they generally cannot be absorbed. So that makes also a difficult situation for mineral availability. So the unabsorbed minerals would be generally excreted. So that is one of the factor to consider for the environments. So generally, when we use or supplement excess of minerals, they will be excreted, and they will be excreted in feces, and that will again go into the environment. So the forms, different inorganic forms of trace minerals like zinc carbonate, zinc sulfate, zinc oxide, zinc chloride, and zinc sulfate, 1H2O or 7H2O. So these are the major forms of inorganic minerals in that can be found in the pure forms or the salt forms. So now coming back to mineral forms, either inorganic, we saw some inorganic forms of minerals like sulfate oxides and some chloride forms also, but we generally use sulfate or oxide, and I already told sulfates are better. Uh, Generally, the inorganic forms have lower viability or the than the organic forms, and the organic forms have relatively higher viability than the inorganic forms. So another form of the trace mineral is organic. So is generally either a mineral protein complex or mineral single amino acid we call it complex, mineral with double amino acid we call chelates, mineral and organic acids, mineral and MHA, and mineral and polysaccharide. These are the commercially available forms of organic minerals. So when you talk about organic minerals, not all are same. There are different kinds of ligands or the organic molecules that can bind with mineral. When we talk about the absorption there, because mineral requires the organic compound and um, to be absorbed. So the organic mineral manufacturers, they bind that minerals with the organic compounds, not like the either the inorganic complexes. So in organic forms also, the ligands and bonding are very important because it depends, the viability depends how strongly they are bound. They should not dissociate while entering into the digestive tract. It happens mostly with organic acids, others, because they tend to dissociate more frequently than the other forms of organic minerals. So the bond is very important here. Not all are same. Not all these mineral single amino acid complexes are same. Like glycine, not all glycine are same. Not all chelates are same. Not all mineral organic acid complexes are same. Not all mineral proteinates are same. So it depends on the mineral and the organic molecule bond. So the organic mineral in general has been seen to utilize more effectively in metabolic and immune responses. So we see a better immune response when using organic minerals than inorganic minerals. So these metabolic and immune functions responses are more elevated in using the organic minerals. So in general, mineral proteinates and amino acid complex are more viable than any other forms. So we talk about 6, 7 forms. So these are the two which are more viable than any other forms. So now the question is inorganic versus organic, which one is better? So there are difference of views in many of the nutritionists, or most of the nutritionists, in using inorganic versus organic. Some prefer inorganic, some prefer organic, some prefer combination of inorganic and organic. So it depends on the choices also. Sometimes it's economic decision also, because organics are more expensive than inorganic. And sometimes also the board condition or the field conditions, and which stage the body is. Also depends which minerals, either organic or inorganic, or the combination to use. So generally, organic minerals with strong bonding escapes interaction with other minerals, because we already saw the mineral interaction. So the best ways to escape that interaction is to have the organic minerals, because it generally absorbs along with the AGT. So already. So organic minerals are particularly beneficial in improving reproductive health and immune responses. When you have a problem with reproductive health or immune responses, then it is always wise to use organic minerals. If you find any infractions or mineral deficiencies because of interaction with other minerals, then it is always wise to use organic minerals. And organic minerals, in most of the cases, have lower heavy metal contaminations than inorganic minerals. And all because but it is not always the same. Organic minerals might also contain heavy metals, but in general, it has been shown that. And the major disadvantage of inorganic minerals is the heavy metal contamination, always. So, considering all the pluses and minuses, I would generally, in my practice, most of the times use organic minerals in full replacements. And it has been shown better responses in case of immunocompromised bird, or the birds in laying, or in which the reproductive health is very important. So it depends again on choice of nutritionists, but even if you cannot replace all the minerals with organic, ZMC and selenium. It means ZMC, zinc, manganese, copper, and selenium. The organics are better. So, in my opinion, so we have a lot of debates on that, and depends on the choice of nutritionist and the feed formation strategy also. So mineral requirements also has been determined here, because vitamin and mineral requirements are determined in one single page by most of the breeding companies, and we generally follow that. But the one thing is for sure, vitamins and mineral requirements of today's birds or the poultry, uh, not more research has been done recently. Most of the research data were done before 1980s. So we depend on those data for the requirements, and we generally follow the breed requirements. Uh, the breed requirement doesn't yet include chromium, but I strongly in Nepal because of the hot and humid climate most of the time, most of the growing areas. Um, Supplementation of chromium has shown better responses than not supplementing. So it again depends on the choice of nutritionists, but chromium is an element of the mineral which is growing importance in coming recently. And these are the requirements for inorganic minerals. So the organic mineral recommendations are different, and most of the times it is lower because they are highly available and they do not interact with other minerals. So they are lower, and we need to go to the supplier's recommendation for full replacements of minerals in case of organics. This again, the layer has definitely lower requirements than boiler, but one thing, the iron requirements for laying diet is more than the growing requirements. So you need to take care. If you have a one single mineral for layers, we always please see the requirements for both the stages, and you can adjust the doses accordingly according to the requirement of the bird. Not all the doses will fit for all the stages. So even for vitamins, if you have a single vitamins, the starter requirements would be much higher than the finisher requirement. So adjust the doses. Don't go with a single dose, single or uniform dosage of the minerals or vitamins. Again, this is a mineral requirements for the laying period. So uh, laying period for broiler breeders. Now, my last topic is on toxin binders. Before coming to toxin binders, we need to understand mycotoxin first, because toxin binders are used to elevate or prevent the harmful effect of mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are chemical compounds from moldy species. More than 400 are documented. These are invisible, toxic, and stable molecules. They are very stable. They don't escape pelletization. They don't escape most of the chemical processes. So they are very, very stable. It is pity that more than 25% of world grains are contaminated with mycotoxins, and they are very toxic at small doses also. It parts per billion level also, they are very toxic. So these are mycotoxins of great importance because they not only harm the birds or the animals, but they also passes through the food cycle and hampers the health of the human beings. So we must eliminate them at source. If not, eliminate them through feed to avoid the access to the human food chain. So major effect of mycotoxins is one of the major effect is on immunosuppression and increased susceptibility to diseases. So they also damage tissue and organ. When affected with mycotoxins, the birds have poor reproductive performances. They have decreased feed intake and weight gain. So most of the immunosuppressive mycotoxins are aflatoxin, bombytoxin, T2 toxin, ochratoxin, and fumiogens. So unfortunately, these are the highest occurring mycotoxins in Nepal. So when we talk about reducing the mycotoxins, we need to see the incidences or the geographic patterns of mycotoxins in field. So sources always, the main is mold, Fusarium, Aspergillus, and Penicillium. There are field fungus and the storage funguses. They produce different kinds of mycotoxins when their growth is hampered. So they are the metabolites of the molds. So the major effect in birds of different or major mycotoxins is described here. Ochratoxin, aflatoxin, DNA, because most of the mycotoxins, they don't occur singly, they occur in combinations. So when you talk about liver damage is done by aflatoxin also, liver damage is done by ochratoxin also, and liver damage is done by fumigene also. Okay. The when you talk about gizzard erosion, is done by T2 and Don toxins. So most of the toxins, uh, they occur in combinations, or most of the impacts of mycotoxins be in combinations, and they impact or they affect multiple organs and systems. So this is the poison and a threat to animal health and also human health. So when you talk about postmortem lesions, generally when you talk about the wheel mycotoxins, seeing the birds, we generally tend to see liver, kidney, and big lesions, though intestine is also affected in most of the cases. These three are predominant organs where we can detect mycotoxins. And also one is left here, is gizzard erosion. So gizzard, these four areas are major in case of finding postmortem lesions of mycotoxins. So when you talk about residues in poultry, most of the, why I'm taking this example is where does the mycotoxins is found more in poultry birds. Like aflatoxin B1 is found in the major residue is found in liver, ochratoxin in hatching eggs, cyclopyogenic acid is on meat and eggs. So meat also is a source for aflatoxin in case of in humans. So Dawn is on hatching eggs. Giralinone is found in eggs. So for us, for humans or for as a consumers, this is of more importance because the eggs might also contain mycotoxins. This for our own use also, on safety also, we need to avoid that mycotoxins in feed to get them to pass through the meat, eggs, or milk. So most of the mycotoxins occur in combinations. They have synergies in them, like aflatoxin, T2, and ochratoxin. They have synergistic effect. We already talked or shown them. They combinedly damages liver, ochratoxin, citrulline, vomitoxin, fusaric acid. These are synergistic. They have synergistic view. So they create more harm in combination than in alone. So that is, and most of the mycotoxins have synergistic effect and harm more at lower concentrations. And it's always that is not when you find aflatoxin in maize, it's almost sure that you'll find another aflatoxin, another toxins also there. The toxins occur in combinations. So that is a damaging effect. And they have a synergy in combinations. They have a synergistic effect that is even more harmful to the animals. So these are the labels of different mycotoxins in feed. Aflatoxin B1, 25 is low, 50 is moderate, and 100 is higher. Total aflatoxin 25, 50, and 100. So like that, different mycotoxins have different tolerance level in feed. So When you talk about aflatoxin 100 and fumonisin in 2000, aflatoxin 100 is more harmful than fumonisin in 2000. So at ppb level is always expressed in ppb levels. So different mycotoxins have different tolerance levels. So this is the chart for this. So for prevention, is there is no cure. We need to prevent that into getting into the food stream and harming the birds. Prevention is done by selecting best of the raw materials having best mycotoxin, one best source. Second is adding binders or adsorbents or biotransformation compounds, and that either excretes them through the adsorbents or make them um, biotransform into another metabolites and excreted into the pieces. So that is the major strategies. These are the major strategies for prevention of mycotoxins in field conditions, poultry feed. When you talk about adsorbents, so HSCS are hydrated sodium calcium aluminum silicates are most widely used. These are clays, different kinds of clays. So they had the affinity to absorb the aflatoxin, and generally what they do is they absorb the polar mycotoxins like aflatoxins, and they are excreted without dissociating in the gastrointestinal tract. They absorb and get excreted through feces. So they bind charged mycotoxins, but the charged nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, other nutrients are also bound by those clays. So care must be taken into consideration while using those kinds of adsorbents. That extract caution has to be done on vitamin and mineral nutrition. Type of SSCS, phyllosilicate and tetrasilicate, though most of the companies have different claims on the surface area and the dose rates. Mostly clays have higher dose rate than other forms of mycotoxin binders or deactivators. And as they have lower surface areas, though treated HSCS has more surface area than the normal naturally occurring hydrated clays. So they have different kinds and different affinity and different surface areas to absorb mycotoxins in field conditions. So absorption, this chart shows the absorption of mycotoxins. So aflatoxin is, the green ones are absorbed by the clays. As we go red, they are not available for absorption. So they are not charged molecules. So only the charged molecules like aflatoxin, they bound mostly aflatoxin. So if you have a very high level of aflatoxins in feed and field conditions, you can use clay materials or the adsorption items, adsorption materials more effectively than for any other mycotoxins. So activated charcoal is also another ingredient used for adsorption. So they generally absorb bacterial introductions and pesticides, generally used for pesticide absorption, though it has some affinity to us toxins. So the third one is yeast cell wall. Generally, the yeast is a unique compound in which they exhibit or they possess different absorption centers, especially the esterified glucans. We see it as a broad spectrum binders, binding aflatoxin, ochratoxin, T2, DON, and many other mycotoxins. So they not only have the affinity to bind multiple toxins, but also have they is also immunomodulation. The glucans are immunomodulators. We also know beta glucans. Yeah. So these are also depends on the processes of manufacturing glucans and the concentration of glucans, but these are all broad spectrum mycotoxin binders available in the available commercially. So the last one or the next one is biotransformation, bioprotection, because the 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 concept here is to either enzymatically detoxifying the mycotoxins or sort of neutralizing the mycotoxins in the feed. So there are a lot of compounds which can compounds, enzymes, and microorganisms like yeast microorganisms and enzymes. They by transform the mycotoxins into less toxic metabolites, and these less toxic metabolites are generally escape through feces or urine. And when you use the biotransformation, liver is the place where they are biotransformed, and we use bioprotection measures also to improve the health of the liver for that process. And for selected plants, algae, extract, and other materials are generally incorporated with biotransformation agents to protect liver from this process, so from damaging. So these are the four mode of uh, action for or strategies for effective mycotoxin prevention measures. So we have a maximum limit of when you talk about mycotoxin, the maximum limit is set for most of the countries for aflatoxin. So, like I have given examples of three countries. In US, the milk it is 0.5 ppb aflatoxin M1. B1 is biotransfer into aflatoxin M1 and extract into the milk. So in India, um, feed have 20 ppb maximum limits. Uh, uh, sorry, India animal feeds have 20 ppb, and in Nepal the cattle feed has 50 ppb, and poultry feed has 28 ppb. This the 28 ppb of poultry feed is for aflatoxin B1, and it is yet to be published in the Gazette, so it's not right now applicable, but it will be applicable very soon. So in Nepal also the mycotoxin limits or mycotoxin limits are being put into practice, so that we must be very careful in selecting the raw materials in days to come to make them safe for animals and also for humans. So when we talk about binders, now we talk about three or four types of binders, which one is to choose. So before which one is to choose, we need to go for an ideal binder. Yeah? Ideal binders should have a wide range for mycotoxins. They should bind as many mycotoxins as possible. They should be effective in low doses. They would have rapid dispersion and easy to use in feed. They should be heat stable because we almost all boiler feed is pelleted. They should not have any affinity towards vitamin, minerals, and nutrients. They should be effective in wide range of pHs, and they should be environmentally friendly. So when you talk about these 7-8 features for the uh, binder compounds, then we can recommend or we can come to a conclusion of which one to choose. So which one is better? So I already talked to you on field conditions, because it depends on the field conditions also. If you have a high aflatoxin challenge, I think clay would be better. Clay would work, but we need to be careful in selecting the clay in terms of surface area and proper doses, because most of the clays are not effective in low doses. So we need to use high doses in field, and they might bind nutrients, vitamins, and minerals in the field. So they're anti-nutritional also. So they increase the total ash, and total ash is the anti-nutritional component most of the time in poultry feed. So ideal binder in most of the cases is glucan that I prefer, and most of the nutritionists prefer the for their role in binding a wide range of mycotoxins. But the mycotoxins biotransformers or the enzymes and microbial combinations is also getting popularity in these days for uh, for elevating the effect of mycotoxins in field. So these are the major major binders and their uses in field. So now I think I'm at the end. If any questions or any comments would be ready to answer. Thank you, Doctor. Back to Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation on the use of vitamins, minerals, and toxin binder in poultry feed. Uh, we'll be sending the soft copies of the presentation to the participant as soon as they are received from all the speakers so that we can do it in a single email because I received some queries and emails and messages. Thank you for your enthusiasm. We will be sending as soon as they are received from all the speakers. Uh, you can please put your questions and queries. Feel free to put your questions, or you may simply unmute your microphone and ask a question. I can see Dr. Sunil Yadav.
There are a few of the questions here.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the questions here is how much temperature do the vitamins can tolerate during pelleting processes? So generally, vitamins nowadays they can easily tolerate the pelleting temperatures of up to 90 degrees, but we need to be very careful in the length of the time they spend on the conditioner. Yeah, so uh, longer the time they expose to a certain temperature, high temperature, they have the tendency to degrade after that. And also to remember that these commercial vitamins nowadays we also withstand the extrusion temperature. So they are now more or less safer for pelleting for poultry feed. So 90 up to 90 degrees, there is no issue. So now, second question is on Dr. Sunil Yadav is glucan bind toxins. Yes, there are various reports that the yeast fractions, the carbohydrate fractions of yeast can bind mycotoxins, and there are numerous literatures claiming that. But there is might be possible that the different processing conditions can have different affinity of that carbohydrate fractions, MOS or glucans for the mycotoxins. Though glucan is more for immunity, and they can also bind mycotoxins. So there are numerous literatures on that. Yes. So another question is, what is your view regarding FAG? I think FAG therapy as feed additives from, is it FAG? Yeah, FAG therapy as feed additives, both from economic and health perspective. Yes, there are certain companies, certain products available, bacteriophage for elevating the harmful effect of certain pathogens in poultry feed. I don't have any experience using that, but they claim to have very good results for certain pathogens. But I generally don't have any practical experience using them, so I can't comment on that. Is for my experience. So one, so is it from Bharat Raj Gautam? So it is better not to depend fully on commercial feed for the vitamin supply, and we should test feed or should provide extra vitamins in commercial feed, right? No, not most. For most of the cases, the supplemented vitamins will work. The only cases where it will not work is if the birds have any metabolic disorders of any disease conditions or any digestive disturbances. we need to supplement extra vitamins. That also depends on the kinds of ailments that the body is suffering from. Either it is immunocompromised bird or digestive disturbances or other things. Most of the cases, the vitamins levels in the feed will work if they are added in proper doses. So, um, yes, I hope that answers. So that is another question on how do we fix the dose rate of any toxin binder? Very difficult question. Uh, not a universal dose for toxin binders for any companies. So depends on the challenges of mycotoxins. And I already told you the dispersion rate or the surface area of the binder. So that surface area of the binder, the manufacturer should have told you or briefed you about, because most of the clays have also different surface areas for binding. So very difficult, but in general, uh, the general dose rate recommended from most of the suppliers is for prevention at normal or the minimal toxin mycotoxin challenges. As we have moderate and high mycotoxin challenges, I showed you in the chart, you should go with higher doses. So, like a clay would, the maximum dose would go up to 1%. For the yeast product is cell walls, the maximum dose would go up to 2 kilo, 2.5 kilo, or even I have seen trials up to 4 kilos. But it all depends on the supplier's recommendation, and because they have the excess of done trials at different mycotoxin challenges, so not always same. Any brand you can recommend for value for money prevention of mycotoxins in broader view with dosages? Not at this forum, because most of the manufacturers have different recommendations and different trials done in different conditions. Yeah. So and different field conditions. So our condition might be different from your conditions, and our feed might contains different kinds of mycotoxins than any other feed. So, but the broader spectrums would definitely be either a yeast product or a biotransformation products. No clays for sure. So if you go for prevention of mycotoxins in broader range or broader spectrum, you either has to go for yeast product or a biotransformation product.
Okay, it seems all the questions have been addressed. Thank you very much for your satisfying answer to all the questions from participants. Once again,